Michael, how you doing? I've got your work up here now. One of the things I would recommend is you don't have to place these giant photos or these giant images in line in discussion board. I mean, the project requirements ask that you compile a multi-page PDF. Now, I mentioned this last week in Milestone 1, Task 3, and I see that you're doing the same thing again. So this is really important because you'll continue to lose points here, and it's really not a good practice to submit single files. You have to submit a multi-page um, PDF. And this is applicable to your career in the future because anytime you're going to be submitting files to a creative director, an art director, or even a client, you don't want to submit. I mean, if you have 15 files, you don't want to give 15 separate files. It's just going to be a real problem. It's going to be so confusing. For this reason, we develop what's called a multi-page PDF. It's a PDF document with several pages. In other words, all of these would be in the same document. We could just kind of go through it and keep things organized. How do you do that? Well, back in week 1, we had that Milestone 1, Task 3 instructions. And I mentioned this last week in grading. So you've really got to do this, Michael. You've really got to do this. But over here, we have this video right here, creating a multi-page PDF file. It explains verbatim, really in great detail, exactly how to do this. Conversely, if we jump over to Milestone 2, and we go to Milestone 2, Task 2, Milestone 2, Milestone Task 2, Instructions, right here. We open that up. Now, Milestone 2, whoops, I wanted Milestone 2, Task 2, not Milestone 2, Task 1. But here's Milestone 2, load more. Task 2 Instructions, which asks you for a multi-page PDF. Right here, you can see save. Here in the instructions, it says, save each common object as a JPEG for inclusion in a single PDF file, with each JPEG file appearing on a separate page. Combine the sketch and collection in images into a single multi-page PDF file. And here's the video again on how to create a single multi-page PDF. Okay, so moving forward, I can't accept these anymore, these single files, okay, because it's not a good industry standard practice, and therefore I can't accept files that are done incorrectly or submissions that are done incorrectly. So please understand and learn how to do that as soon as possible, okay? Looking at the images themselves, none of these images can be used for your work. And let me tell you why. I've taken all of these images, I've downloaded them, and I've opened each one in Photoshop. And here's what we have. We have your sketch. I think the sketch is great. Try to figure out how we're going to place a face in here with using furniture parts. Maybe knobs from the dresser for eyes, maybe, something, I don't know. But let's try to figure out how to get a face in there. Okay, but let's take a look at the images that you use to compile these. Now, I downloaded these and I opened them all in Photoshop. Okay, so let's start from this one right here. This one, if we go up to the top of Photoshop and we click on image, the word image, and come down and say image size, you can see that this is a 72 ppi image, and the project requirements ask for a 300 high resolution ppi. So that won't be able to be used. Let's move to the next one. And here again, image size, 72 ppi, can't use it. Let's move on to the next. Here, image size, 72 ppi, can't use it. And so on and so forth. So these all have to be high resolution images. Okay, let me find some others. I think we've seen all of these. Okay, the stool, image size, 100. It's not high. It's got to be 300. Okay, do you see what I'm saying? So this one can be used. Now, if you come in here and you say, this is big enough, the height and width are big enough that you can actually change this. If you make sure that you click resample, and you uncheck resample and say 300, and you can change that. What that's going to do is it's going to take the dimensions because they're so big, and it's going to reduce them to, it's going to say 300 ppi, but it's going to change the size to 6.8 by 6.8 But that's plenty big enough to use in your thing, in your composite. So that will work. So you can just okay and use that one. But the rest of them are 72 ppi, and they're so small. Like this one, for example, image size 96 ppi, but this is only 3 inches by 3 inches. So if we try to change that to 300, you're going to see what happens. That turns into 1.2 by 1.2. It's just too small. It won't work. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. I would recommend that you do this. I would recommend that you go back to Milestone 2. And I really think it's important that you overview all of these learning activities. They all have to do with image resolution, and everything I just described is described in detail right here. So please, in moving forward, don't try to attempt the tasks or any of the milestone tasks without first really going through all of these learning activities and the textbook. Otherwise, we're just going to have, the same type of issue where the projects or the tasks are being submitted in a less than perfect way. Okay, hope that makes sense. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. But I would, from now on, I would expect to see that these are submitted as multi-page PDF files. Otherwise, I'm going to have to ask you to resubmit in the correct manner. Okay, hope that makes sense. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to get you to learn the best way to do this. Okay. All right. Any questions? Give me a holler. Thank you.